Before there were delivery apps and TV chefs, before giant supermarkets and ready meals, most folks just made do with what they had. Simple, hearty food. Not because it was trendy, but because it was all they had. Every culture had its version of the poor man's meal, made from scraps, rice, lentils, old veggies, flour, bones, whatever was lying around. Nothing got tossed because nothing could be. These meals came out of hard times, but they were held together by love, passed down from grandma to mom to the next, shared at rough wooden tables, under tin roofs, sometimes by candlelight. And now, a lot of them are disappearing. So today we're shining a light on 10 of these forgotten meals. Dishes that once fed whole families, whole towns, now slowly fading from memory. Let's bring them back. Let's start in Egypt, koshari. You'll still spot it in Cairo street stalls, but koshari has been around way longer. It's a wild mix: rice, lentils, pasta, chickpeas, crispy onions, all smothered in tangy tomato sauce with a splash of vinegar. Sounds like a mess, right? But somehow it works. Back in the 1800s, locals started tossing together scraps. Pasta from the British, lentils and rice they already had. Fried onions were just a smart way to use up old oil and bits. Cheap, filling, fast. That's how it started. But people kept loving it, so much that it became Egypt's national dish. Koshari isn't just tasty, it's a story of making something out of nothing and feeding everyone at the table. Rich or poor, it doesn't matter. And today, it's still a comfort food you can grab on a busy workday or cook at home with leftovers. That's the beauty of it. No rules, just flavor. Now heading to France, pot au feu literally means pot on the fire. This was the heart of old French kitchens. A big pot simmering for hours, sometimes days, with whatever they had on hand. Tough meat, bones, carrots, leeks, salt. No fancy recipe, just patience. The longer it cooked, the better it tasted. Broth came first, meat came later. Leftovers went into sandwiches or hash. It brought families together around one pot. Kids learned to savor it slowly. And today, you might see it on fancy menus. But back then, it was just about staying warm and full. And that smell, that deep, rich aroma, it filled every corner of the house, wrapping around you like a blanket. Off to China, congee. Start with a handful of rice, add water, boil it down till it turns into a creamy porridge. That's congee. It fed babies, grandparents, and anyone who was sick or struggling. 1 cup of rice could stretch to feed a family during hard times. You could eat it plain or add whatever you had. Pickled veggies, soy sauce, bits of meat. Some regions ate it every morning, others only when times were tough. Nowadays, you'll see it at trendy brunch spots with truffle oil. But the real congee, it's about care. Slowing down, stirring, nourishing someone you love. In many Chinese households, congee still shows up when someone's under the weather or just needs a little comfort in a bowl. Let's visit India, dal with rice. In India, nothing says home like dal chawal, lentils and rice. It's simple, hearty, and surprisingly full of flavor. Red, yellow, or green lentils. Cooked with garlic, cumin, turmeric, then served over rice with a spoonful of ghee or chili if you like. It's been feeding folks for generations, from farmers in dusty fields to school kids at lunch. Cheap, nourishing, and easy. Sure, fast food's creeping in, but in so many homes, dal is still bubbling on the stove by dinner time. The smell in the air says, the day is done. The taste says, you're home. Even now, you'll find recipes passed on from memory. No measuring cups, just feeling. That's how tradition survives. Over to Ireland, Irish stew. Picture this: a cold wind, a small cottage, and a pot hanging over a peat fire. That's where Irish stew was born. Originally made with mutton, onions, potatoes, whatever was around. Tough meat? Let it simmer. Root veggies? Toss them in. It kept families going through poverty, honest, humble food. Nowadays, you might see it on a pub menu, but its roots go way back to survival, not style. Every family had their twist. A few herbs, maybe just potatoes and water, but it always did the job. And when it snowed outside and the wind howled, that pot of stew on the fire meant you'd be okay. Down to Latin America, arepas with beans, Venezuela, and Colombia. Arepas are everywhere now, but they started as survival food, made from cornmeal, shaped into flat little patties, grilled and stuffed with beans or cheese. In the countryside, folks cooked them on open flames and filled them with black beans and salt. They were easy to carry, cheap to make, and they filled you up. During hard times, maize flour was often all people had, and still is for many. Today, they're served in restaurants, even on social media feeds. But that warm arepa, it still means you're gonna eat tonight. It's the kind of food that shows up at every meal, quietly doing its job, keeping people going. Let's go to Eastern Europe. Borscht, bright purple, a little sour, a little sweet. That's borscht. Beets, cabbage, potatoes, onions, sometimes meat if you had it, all slow simmered. It came from the land, from what people could grow and keep over the winter. Hot or cold, served with a spoon of sour cream and some bread, borscht was a meal that filled bellies and told stories. Every family had their version, and today fewer people are making it from scratch. But it's still a dish that says, we made it through. And when shared, it brings generations together, across tables and across time. Now East Africa, uji, millet porridge. In villages across Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, mornings used to start with uji, just millet flour, water, maybe a bit of milk or sugar if you had it. It was warm, filling, and kept you going. Kids drank it before long walks to school. Elders sipped it slow. It wasn't just food, it was connection. Shared bowls, slow cooking, no measurements, just instinct and care. Now cereals and sliced bread are taking over. But in many homes, uji still bubbles away, carrying stories with it. And every now and then, someone takes a sip and remembers their childhood, just like that. A British classic, Bubble and Squeak. Leftovers never tasted so good. Bubble and Squeak came out of rationing days in post-war Britain. You take mashed potatoes, cabbage, and leftover vegetables. Fry it all up until it sizzles. Done. The name comes from the sound it makes in the pan. People had it for breakfast, lunch, whenever they needed to stretch what they had. You might see it now in fancy pubs, but back then, it was survival on a plate. And the crispy bits, that was the reward for scraping the pan just right. Last stop, Central America, gallo pinto. Just beans and rice, fried up with onions, peppers, and garlic. That's gallo pinto. Farmers ate it before the sun came up. Kids ate it between school. It was cooked in bulk and shared around. Some added eggs or cheese or that famous Lizano sauce. It was simple, but full of life. It told you, we're eating together. And even now, not from tin plates in villages to buffets in hotels, gallo pinto is still doing what it's always done. Feeding people honestly. And somehow it still tastes like home, even if you're far away. These meals came from struggle, but they were built with care and passed down with love. They didn't just feed people, they shaped them. They held families together. They told stories. If we let them disappear, we're losing more than food. We're losing history, connection, soul. So let's keep them alive. Cook them, taste them, share them. Keep them going in your home, maybe even pass them on. Because when we bring these dishes back to life, we're not just reviving a recipe, we're reviving everything that came with it. The laughter around the table, the steam from the pot, the feeling that no matter how little you had, you still had enough. Because old food still has something to say. And if we listen closely, we might just hear the wisdom of those who came before us in every bite. Subscribe to Old World Lifestyle for more stories from the kitchens of the past, where every meal meant something.